Welcome to a brand new season of Think Governance. In this series, we unpack King 5, a bold new standard for ethical leadership, accountability, and sustainable value creation in South Africa. Join us as we explore what this means for directors, business leaders, and governance professionals shaping the future.
So today I'll be chatting to Andre Visser, who represents the JSE as an institutional member on the King Committee. Andre, thank you for joining me.
Thank you, Parmi.
So Andre, the JSE has long recognized the value of the King Codes and has embedded them in its listings requirements. Why has this alignment been important from a regulatory point of view?
Yeah, Parmi, I think the JSE has always been a very strong supporter of the King Code. And I think, in fact, we endorsed King since its inception in the early 90s. And that position remains the same. We will continue to endorse the King Code. I think what's important for us is to ensure that we have a governance framework that's robust in South Africa. And I think what we've done through the listing requirements is we've given King much needed status and prominence by incorporating it into the requirements. And in fact, I think we were the first body to formally embed the King Code into regulation. And I think what that's done, it's brought much needed credibility to the King Code to the extent that it is part of our common law in South Africa today. So I think by embedding it into the listing requirements, I think what we've done is we've created lots of consistency. I think investors have much more trust and they feel that we've got a credible corporate governance code in South Africa. And I think we will continue supporting the King Code to make sure that we have that trust in South Africa.
So then let's talk about a significant shift in governance reporting that's coming in now with King 5 for the first time. And I think that's one of the major challenges that we hope is going to have a big impact on governance reporting. And that's this disclosure framework. And you've been part of those advisory group meetings as well in all these discussions. How do you think this standardized format will help regulators, investors, the market as a whole? And should other role players also be adopting or referencing or incorporating this disclosure framework into their requirements?
Yeah, Parmi, I think the disclosure framework, in my opinion, is the most significant change that we've seen in governance reporting over the last 30 years. I think the last time we saw something coming in as prominent as this was when King was introduced for the first time. And I think this will go a long way in making sure that regulators like the JSE have the tools to ensure that there's proper monitoring of governance practices in South Africa. I think if you look at what we have at the moment, the landscape is fairly fragmented. You know, there's different ways of disclosing it. It's very difficult to find disclosures in annual reports and integrated reports. And I think this will bring much needed consistency. I think it will add significant value to the market. And I think very importantly, it will provide investors with a tool to hold companies accountable. And not just investors, but stakeholders across the ecosystem. And I think for me, this provides other regulators, and not just the JSE, with an opportunity to adopt a similar approach to ensure that the benefits that we get out of this disclosure framework and King in general is spread across the economy and not just focused on companies on the JSE.
So as you know, one of the guidance notes that we were busy drafting and that will be released with King 5 is the one on monitoring and enforcement. And it really talks to what you're just explaining now is that there's such a wide ecosystem in this governance space and we need every party to play their bit really to hold organizations accountable. So absolutely important. And then finally, how do you see the JSE's role evolving in this King 5 era? Not just in terms of, enforcing compliance, but really in fostering a culture of transparency and accountability amongst the JSE listed companies.
From a JSE perspective, I think it's important that we also evolve. I think what comes with the disclosure framework is a very powerful tool for us as regulators to hold companies accountable. So I think first and foremost, our role will continue to strengthen our monitoring and enforcement. I think this brings us or provides us with a very useful tool. But I think we need to move away from just a compliance mindset. And I think transparency and accountability is going to be critical. And I think there's a possibility for the JSE to play a role by partnering with academia, partnering with professional bodies like the IoD, to make sure that we can play a role from a thought leadership perspective. We can partner with parties, we can do research, we can see what sort of practices are out there, And without naming and shaming, we can provide transparency around some of the practices that can be improved. And I think that will lead to improved transparency and accountability in the South African market.
So, Andre, from my side, thank you so much for your thoughts today. But more importantly, thank you to the JSE for the contribution it has made to giving the King Codes the gravitas it has today. And now going into the future, thank you so much for endorsing the code and particularly the disclosure framework. We really think this is going to be what makes the difference for governance in South Africa. So thank you so much, Andre.
Thank you, Parmi.
And thank you for listening. Please follow our channels and visit our website, IoDSA.co.za. There's a specific webpage for King 5 where you'll find all the documents and resources we've discussed. Thank you.